There's nothing 100%. All the things that I have, all the things that I share, my track record, when I pull it out and I point to something before it happens, look around. You've been walking with me now for almost 2 years now publicly. How many things did I call and not happen? Very, very, very small number of that. But how many things were right and correct and where the market went to? You can't reasonably expect to be like that in the beginning. And when you learn from someone, when I was a martial artist, I wanted to be as good as the guy that was teaching me, and then better. That's what I wanted. Anything that they did that was impressive, I needed to do it better than them. Why? Because I had this deep ingrained necessity for me to be significant, because while I was growing up in Cardboard City, I was part of what we considered white trash. We lived in low income. And I got in fist fights and stomped the shit out of people that thought they were better than me. I curb stomped people. You know what that is? Where you stomp their ass, you beat them. You drag them over to a curb, you open their mouth up with their teeth on the edge of the curb, and you stomp the back of their head. I've done that before. And the sound that makes, you'll never forget it. Those are things that I've done as a kid with people older than me, because they talked down to me. They acted like they were better than me. So what drives me, and still today, is that deep scar. I was the guy on the other side of the tracks growing up. I didn't come into this world with a silver spoon in my ass. I didn't have that. Everything was a hard thing to do. And it took a lot longer than I wanted it to do. And it was very difficult. I had a lot of opposition around me. People would try to tell me, you're not going to be able to do it. You're going to just, amount to the same thing we do. And I went to school, and they tried to talk me out of that. And they said, you're not going to get good grades. And I got great grades. Constantly, the enemy will work on you to try to discourage you. And if you're strong enough that you have the motivation that keeps you going, when you're finally there, he's really going to try. Because you've done it. You finally climbed to that moment where now you're going to see the proof. You're going to finally get that testimony that you can hold on to and say, nobody can take this from me. And some of you are going to discover that motivation that got you there, which is, everybody needs it. I'm not trying to discourage that's not a good thing. It is a good thing. But there's an event, there's a phenomenon that takes place where once you're there, you can't handle the pressure. And you throw out all the rules. You don't wait for the setup. You think that it's going to be stripped from you. You worked so hard to get to this moment. Now here's your first shot. The first shot to use the information that you've been studying. Now you can make gainful profits if it's correctly done. But you don't have the experience yet to lean on. And you see a sudden quick movement, which really isn't that much. Nothing's changed in the trade setup. But in your mind, because you're so keyed up, that motivation, you're hopped up. You're ready to go. You're that guy that all your friends are around. Fight, fight, fight. When if they weren't there, you'd probably shake hands with the guy and say, you know what? I apologize, man. This got out of hand. It's just forgive me for saying whatever I said or did whatever I did to you. You can't do that now because they've incited that rage. You've become lustful for blood. You need to do this now. And something happens where that motivation becomes impulse. And you don't use your model and you press the button. As soon as the button is pressed, you're regretting it. Because now you just entered the uncertainty with no plan, no entry, no PDRA. You chase the price. And everything you've heard me say comes rushing into your brain, and you're thinking, oh man, this is that thing he talked about. Now that trade seems like it's going to choke the life out of you. Maybe you start hyperventilating. You don't realize it yet. So you start feeling your fingers and your hands and your arms start tingling. All of a sudden you start feeling your heart palpitate. Feels like you can't breathe. Doesn't feel like there's any air in the room. Why is it so hard to breathe? That's anxiety. Now you're faint. You're feeling the effects of the adrenaline in your body, and you're standing still. It's like a Ferrari in neutral, running with the accelerating pedal to the floor. It's not good for the engine. And now you're worrying about what you're feeling bodily. And then cortisol is going to release. And that hormone makes you feel like you're going to die. Now, how can you be watching price, managing it, and what you should be doing, focusing on your model, if you think you're having a stroke or a heart attack or about to pass out or throw up? I've been there. I've been there, and I've been there while driving a truck over the Key Bridge in high winds, panicking because I'm watching my Quotrek tell me that there's absolutely nothing I can do, and I'm nowhere near a payphone to get out. You can't understand that. You don't understand that because you're so spoiled with the information and technology we have today, where we can just press a button, get in, get out. Seconds. Be on the other side of a bridge, and then someone goes and has a typical thing that anybody else would have normally while they're doing construction on the bridge. You only have one lane, and then their engine dies, and you're on a trade. You can't get out, and you can't move, and you lose your account that day because you thought you were smart enough not to use a stop loss. And Copper said, not today. That's the stuff that I lived through. That I did that stuff. So there's a lot of people out there that'll tell you, this is where I made this much money, this is where I made this much money, this is where I made that much money, and I did this, I did that, I did this. Nobody is comfortable telling you where they messed it up. They want to hide it. They want to delete it like it didn't happen. Most of my mentoring is telling you what it's going to be really like. I don't sugarcoat it. I don't pretend that I didn't come from humble beginnings where it was very hard, next to impossible, and I quit dozens of times. That's what I call it. But folks that's been around before a while just know that this meant code word for I need a break. I need another job to get some money scratched up because I didn't have a lot of it. But that motivation that leads you to the dance and you're watching the charts, you got to guard your mind and really stick your heels in, dig them in deep and say, okay, yeah, that button's right there. I can push it. I can push that button. Any time I want to push that button, it's going to get me in the trade. But am I entering the trade based on my model with the logic in mind that I'm entering in the opposing direction of where I see the profit? So if I'm bullish, I got to be entering when prices drops. It's got to be dropping. If it doesn't drop, I'm chasing. I can't do that. You can't do that. When you do these types of trades and you're buying while markets are moving away from your expected directional draw or where your limit order to take profit or partials are, number one, you're going to overcome a lot of fear that most traders have because they have confirmation bias. Every trader out there goes through a stage of they need to have confirmation bias. They have to know that they're in the trade and they're on side. Then they're willing to give up a large portion of the first initial run. And then all of a sudden now they have courage. Oh, I know I'm right now. I'm really right now. And then they chase it. And now their stop loss has to be so much larger. And while they're in that trade, it might pan out. It might go exactly where they thought it was going to go originally and probably never have any drawdown. It might be just they're buying it and it just starts running and ripping away. That's really what they want. But you know what? When that happens, that's a terrible thing because it's teaching you to do bad things and expect good results. It don't make any sense, right? But you'll convince yourself at the time that this is what's right for you. In the absence and the void of any real experience, sound logic, you're going to create your own right there in the heat of the moment. And that motivation becomes impulse. And for those of you that have traded with real risk of losing something, not a demo, reset is the worst that could happen. I'm talking about you lost your funded account. You lost your combine that you were working hard for. Traded with real money. You know exactly what I'm talking about in the dozens of times that you've been here. You have to have a model. But before that model is useful to you, you have to know what price is likely to do. What characteristics does it show? How does it behave in the morning? How does it behave in the afternoon? How does it behave in those respective sessions after a big up close day or down close day or an inside day? They're all characteristics that you need to study and associate with over a period of time. And you're not going to be able to do it in just a few short weeks or a couple months. It takes time. Some of you are just so willing to assume risk, hoping that you're right like a lottery win, that you throw all sound logic and reason out the window because you just want to have something to hang your hopes on. Because if you make a little bit of money is better than what you were doing before, right? If I could just make $100 a week. Yeah, I can see that. In today's world, that means something. That might be your gas being covered for the week, back and forth to work. Things are expensive. When I put gas in my truck, if I drive it a lot, it's very easy for me to go through $130 a week. 8 cylinders, they eat it. Now, I'm not worrying about that money, but I think about how it would hurt the average person out there. It's a lot. And maybe that's the reason why there's a lot of cars or car lots up here that have these kind of trucks sitting in their car lot, in the used lot. They traded them in. They can't handle it. Too much expense. Same thing when they bought that vehicle. They were motivated because they saw their buddies have a truck. I gotta get a truck too. Everybody's driving trucks. And when they bought it, because they were impulsive, they're regretting it. They have buyer's remorse. You don't want your trading to have remorse. You want to have removed any doubt that you can justify anything outside yourself as a reason why you lost. And that went over your head right now, especially the ones that want to have selective hearing. So I'm going to say it again real slow and painfully. Many of you, especially the ones that are beginning this, you're trying to do anything to get in and make money, but you're willing to ignore all sources of responsibility on yourself. But as a trader that is actively trying to pursue consistency and longevity, profitability, what you're trying to do while obtaining that as your goal, the way you get there is removing any excuse, any cause, any reason for you failing outside of your own model and your own experience. That's personal responsibility. And that's not taught in this industry. It's easy to be able to say, well, the markets are random. Well, they really shouldn't offer 15 contracts. If it really isn't good for us, they shouldn't really do that. There's always excuses that the ones that are not prepared to be responsible, to be sound stewards of the money that they have in their hands and the risk that they associate with it. I'm not going to use a stop loss because I have a point to prove. Well done, maximum loss drawdown margin call. You proved a point. Everybody knew it, but you confirmed it. That's scar tissue. Now that's going to motivate you to do stupider things because now you're embarrassed because everybody saw what we already knew. Might not be that grand of a scale of an embarrassment for you when you take your trade. It led you up to the charts. You're there. You got all the things figured out. And you impulsively predict and anticipate the setup forming, but you want to be ahead of it because you can't weather the impatience. It's agony. Oh man, what if it runs without me? I sat here all this time. I did all that charting. I already told people I was going to be buying long, and they're going to be asking me for proof. Where's the receipts? Where'd you go long at? And I ain't going to be able to have anything to show them. Oh my goodness, I don't care. I got to get in. There you go. There you go. You did everything wrong. I don't care if your analysis was good. I don't care if your lipstick on your chart was correct, if your draw on liquidity was correct, all that. Everything you just shot at the shit with this entry. Because now your risk isn't appropriate. It's got to be larger now. You entered in the direction of the profit, which we don't do. But ICT, I watch you pyramid. Yep. And when I'm buying when it's going down. Every time. Think. Well, let me retract that. When I'm inside of a PD array, I can accumulate a new pyramid entry there too. But I have size behind me that's already layered when I take those types of trades. Otherwise, if I don't have that, I won't. For perfect example would be my breaker. They say I'm bullish and I think prices are going to go higher. I'll annotate the chart while I'm doing the trades, and you see me recording it. I'll annotate it as a bullish breaker, and I'm entering inside the breaker. It hasn't left it yet and come back and touched it. See, that's the part you know. That's the easy side of it. The hard part is knowing where the market's going to go and being confident that I can enter on the breaker. And if it comes back, then I'll buy it again and add more because I'll have more to lean on, trusting that it's going to go higher so I can add more to it. But if that's my first entry, and that's not likely going to be the trade I go on, then I'll elect to wait for it to come back to the breaker. But if I've already bought, like I bought the sell side that the breaker ran down for, I'm buying below that previous low. Then when it goes up into what you would classically identify as a breaker, after it's moved above it and then come back down touching it, I'm buying it in it before it breaks above it, before it's going to retrace back again and touch it. So there's a reason for everything that I'm doing. I'm not just, pulling shit out of my ass just to say something or prove something that doesn't have any sound logic that I repeat over and over and over again. There's a logic behind what it is I'm doing. Everything that I do in my executions are systematic. I had to learn that through pain, loss, blowing accounts, losing lots of times. And every single time, guess what I had before it? Right before I lost the account, before I lost the trade, before I had remorse, I had motivation. I had confidence. But that confidence and that motivation was like that guy. You're standing there. You really don't want to fight this person. Not because you're afraid that they're going to kick your ass, but you don't want to fight that person. You really don't want to be like, it's not appropriate for you to be doing what you're being pushed into. And you have that circle of influence around you. Everybody's shouting, oh yeah, fight. When wisdom says, wait. If they want to swing on you, then you hit them in their fucking throat. Grab them by their ears, drive their nose into your fucking knee, drag them down to the ground, put your knee in the back of their fucking skull and pound the shit out of them. You didn't ask for it, but you reciprocated. You invited them to walk away, they won't. Well, in trading, at that moment, especially for young men, this is Sparta, bitch. I'm here now, and I don't need to wait for no setup. Front kick, boom. But you find out you're the one falling down. You're the one feeling that gut kick to the solar plexus and you can't breathe now because you pushed the button. You can't take it back. You can't take it back. What does that mean? You know you shouldn't have entered there. Sound logic would be, all right, this is premature entry. Just close it right now and wait for the setup. But you won't. You won't. Because the thing that pushed you into that impulsively is telling you right now, man, I hope it keeps going up from here. I hope it keeps going up here. Please don't drop. Please don't drop. Please don't drop. When it's so much less pain and suffering just to close the trade and then wait for that setup. You might have a little bit of drawdown and the commission costs that you spent. Okay. But you have preserved your mental capital. The money that you're spending and potentially losing on that trade is insignificant in terms of the amount of debt that you're going to carry mentally as a trader for the rest of your career by doing that silly shit. Think about it. How many times have you been in a trade where even if it went to the worst case scenario and ran all the way to wherever your stop would have been, notice I said that, but some of you aren't trading with a stop loss. What's the worst that's going to happen? That loss doesn't end you, but in your mind, you've lost a limb. You've lost your strong arm. How else could you ever go back into trading if you lose this trade? If I lose this trade, I can't imagine ever wanting to do this again. That's the equivalent of what you're doing. But where was the motivation that led you to that moment? Right when it came to the time where you push that button, it transforms into impulsiveness. That moment right before you take your trade, you have to really, really know what you're doing. You have to know exactly what you're doing, why you're doing it. And before you press the button to get into it, you have to know exactly where your static maximum risk is, and there must be a stop loss there. Because once you have that, see, you're trying to avoid that stop loss because you're afraid it's going to hit it. Whereas a professional-minded trader, they want to know what that is so that way they don't worry about it. This is what I'm willing to lose. If I'm wrong, okay, I'm willing to take that as a loss. But you want to trade with the maximum leverage. So it makes perfect sense for you to try to avoid everything ever getting. You'll never get stopped out. You'll never get stopped out if you never use a stop loss. You know what that is? Head and ass syndrome. Your head's too far up your ass and you can't see things properly. I'm sorry, I can't see it your perspective. I used to see it like that. I went through that same thing. But I pulled my own head out of my own ass and started looking at things correctly. And some of you are fighting me on this. No, you don't get it, ICT. I'm different. I'm going to be the exception. No, you're not. You're just going to do it worse. But you'll never talk about it. You're never going to tell anybody what you did. Well, that would probably be the best thing for you. It disarms you. It makes you human. It proves that we're fallible. We're not infallible. Some of you think I'm infallible as a trader. Sometimes I don't do it right. Sometimes it doesn't work out where I want it to go. Like there's many instances where I've told my son, so that, I would like to see it do this, do that. And there it is. And we sat together and he's like, hey, but Dad, it did this, and you entered there and it didn't do what you thought. So how would I know that experience? And some of you don't want to hear that answer. 30 years, folks, that's a long time to be looking at stuff that's doing the same stuff all the time. You get used to it. You know with confidence that one trade that you're looking at right now, even if it fails, and the 3 after it fails, it doesn't change the efficacy of the model. It doesn't change you as the trader. It just means if you execute on them, you might have incurred loss. But are you allowing for and inviting those losing trades, those losses, to take you completely out of the model, completely away from trading, and or having the ability to be solvent to trade? It's amazing how traders that get so worked up chasing other people's bullshit online, these things that people promote falsely, they don't have any evidence that they can do it. They don't talk about it before it happens. They don't use a model or an approach that is applicable or you can see being used in the executions. You don't even see their executions. They just tell you this is a trade I took. And they're using the buy and sell overlay thing on TradingView. That's not even an entry with a demo. That's just, here's a trade I took. I think I got in right on here. Listen to what they say. They tell on themselves, but they're selling mentorships. That's frustrating for somebody that knows what the fuck's going on and have taught, man, I don't know how many people, but I've taught a lot of people for free. And it's just my tolerance for it is gone. It's gone. And I don't try to influence all you in that respect. I mean, but if you're going to be trying to pay somebody for something, they better have the goods. They better be able to prove that they can do what they're claiming they can do, instead of talk about something on the left side of the chart. But you all fall victim to that stuff. This image-based stuff, materialistic stuff. And you resist sound logic, real money-making, money preservation insights. That I went through this stuff. I had to lose a lot of money to learn these lessons, and I'm trying to very much remove the necessity for you to go through that same stuff. And you don't want to listen. Like my own kids, they don't listen. You wonder why my own sons do the things that they do? The same reason why you ain't listening to me. Just because they have my DNA in them doesn't mean that they're gonna. Oh, no, it's a symbiotic relationship. I'm ICT's offspring. It's whatever the main one says. All the ones like there's this relationship where whatever, it's a hive mentality. The word escapes me, but it's kind of like the show The Last of Us. The fungus, whatever one fungus feels or experiences, they all feel at the same time. That doesn't happen because they're my kids. They're discovering themselves too. And they're discovering that they're human. And guess what humans are? We're terrible decision makers. That's a skill set that has to be honed and beaten into us. As the scripture says, iron sharpens iron. Meaning, it's not going to be easy. If iron had feelings and nerve endings, it probably would be wincing when you rub it against another piece of iron. When you take that raw piece of metal and you want to forge it into a blade, what do you have to do to it? You have to harm it. You have to do damage to it. You got to take its useless edges off and make one useful edge. That edge is your edge that you're going to use as a weapon or a tool. Knife, a blade. But many of you want to go out to the market and you do all this work and preparation, and you have this high-tech 50 caliber sniper rifle in your hands, and you show up and you're right there. You're sitting there and you're waiting for it. You're looking through your scope. It's coming, it's coming, it's coming. And then all of a sudden the market starts to run. And what do? You reach for your fucking baseball bat and you chase it. What the hell is that? That's caveman mentality. That's not civilized. That's uncivilized. That's savagery. We're waiting for the mark to walk into the crosshairs, gently hug the trigger, and be confident that we have executed precisely what our model is expecting us to do. We will not second guess it because we've done everything up to the point of engagement and entry. Our stop loss is there. We don't worry about it because we're comfortable with the risk. But if I'm honest, ICT, that means I can only really risk $75. Right. Exactly. That's why you're trading with a fucking micro. Okay. That's why you're doing that. It's not about how much you can make. It's how much you can afford to lose and still stay in the game while you're learning.